What's the moment an 8-year-old realizes the only way to protect his sister is to make sure she can't leave the house? I woke up to my daughter screaming. Not the kind of scream you hear when a kid stubs a toe or gets spooked by a spider. The kind of scream that pulls you out of bed before you're fully awake. That sends you running down the hallway on pure adrenaline. Not knowing what you're going to find on the other side of the door, but already knowing it's bad. I found Delea standing in her bedroom, completely bald. Her long dark hair was scattered across the pillow like something from a nightmare. She was sobbing, pointing at her little brother's room, barely able to get the words out. My husband found Micah sitting on his bed in his dinosaur pajamas with the electric clippers still on his nightstand. Micah was 8 years old. He still asked me to check for monsters under his bed. He followed his big sister everywhere, asking questions about everything. And he had just shaved her head. The night before prom, before I could even form a sentence, the doorbell rang. Delea's boyfriend Colton let himself in the way he always did on Saturday mornings. He came upstairs calling about corsage colors and stopped dead in the hallway when he saw Delea. What the hell happened to your hair? He quickly rearranged his face into something that looked like concern. Baby, don't cry. We can fix this. Maybe get you a wig. He pulled her against him. Then he glanced at me with something in his eyes that wasn't concern at all. Micah appeared in the doorway, still in his dinosaur pajamas, and said in that calm, determined voice he uses when he knows something important. I cut off all her hair so she couldn't go to prom with you. Because you're mean to her, Colton laughed. Forced. Kids make up crazy stories, Mrs. Hale. Tell her, Delea. Tell your mom how good I am to you. Delea wouldn't look at anyone, Micah said. I see the purple marks on her arms where you grab her too hard. The bathroom went very quiet. Then my son said he'd taken pictures. On my phone while Delea was sleeping. I opened the photos with shaking hands. Close-ups of Delea's arms, finger-shaped bruises, her ribs, dark purple marks, the kind that don't come from soccer. The kind that come from someone hitting you where clothing will cover it. Oh my God, I whispered. Delea, is this true? Colton's face was getting red. He started talking about everything he'd spent on her. The limo, the flowers. Trying to make this about money instead of about what I was looking at on my phone. Then Micah held up his smartwatch. The cheap one we'd given him for his birthday. The one that could record voice memos. He pressed the screen. Colton's voice came through the tiny speaker, clear enough. It was from the day before. Colton had been waiting in our living room while Delea got ready, and Micah had recorded him without him knowing. Yeah, tomorrow night after prom, his voice said. I'm going to get her completely out of it at Owen's after party so she can't say no this time. Already got what I need from my brother. Time to lock that down before college. Nothing keeps a girl around like a baby. The bathroom went so quiet I could hear the hum of the refrigerator downstairs. Delea made a sound I'd never heard her make before. Something wounded and broken. Colton let go of her and started backing toward the door. My husband moved to block the exit. Colton tried threats. His dad was a lawyer. He'd ruin our whole family. But when my husband stepped forward, something shifted in Colton's face. He went cold and said 4 words in a voice I still hear in my sleep. I don't think you want to do that, Mr. Hale. And I think you know why. My husband went white. His hands started shaking. I didn't know yet what Colton had on him. I stepped between them, pulled out my phone, hit record, and told Colton to get out of our house, or I was calling 911. He laughed. Then he shoved past my husband and walked out, knocking family photos off the wall as he went, making sure we'd hear every footstep. The front door shook the whole house when it slammed. In our bedroom with the door locked, my husband told us what had happened 2 weeks earlier. He'd seen bruises on Delea's wrist at dinner and gone to the school the next day to confront Colton in the parking lot. He'd grabbed him by the collar. He'd threatened him. And Colton's car had a dash cam that caught every second of it. Colton had played it for my husband right there on his phone and told him if he ever interfered again, he'd send it to the police. Press charges for assault on a minor. That was what Colton had been holding over him. That was why my husband hadn't said anything. I called the police. When the detective arrived, Detective Alicia Reyes, called in on her day off, she interviewed each of us separately. She looked at Micah's recording. She looked at the photos on my phone. She looked at Delea's phone, where we found hundreds of messages going back months. Colton telling her what to wear and who she could talk to. Apologies after he hurt her that blamed her for making him so angry. Threats about what would happen if she tried to leave. A message that said he'd been outside her window the night she went to a friend's house. Another that said he owned her. We went to the emergency room. The doctor documented 19 separate bruises in various stages of healing. Some yellow and fading. Others fresh and dark. She measured each one with a ruler and photographed them all. On the way out, my husband's phone rang. Roland Vance, Colton's father. He put it on speaker. Roland was furious, threatening lawsuits and defamation charges. A social worker standing nearby grabbed her own phone and started recording. She added it to our file as evidence of witness intimidation. When we drove home, Colton's car was parked across from our house. engine running, waiting. We called Detective Reyes, circled the block, and waited at a grocery store, parking lot until a patrol car arrived, and moved him along. The days that followed were a slow nightmare of locked doors and checked windows and watching every car that slowed on our street. A week after prom, a beat-up truck registered to Colton's older brother Cody drove past our house twice. Then Cody got out and stood on the sidewalk across the street, just staring at our windows with his hands in his pockets. But the case was building. Detective Reyes found Colton's friend Owen, who admitted under questioning that Colton had asked him to make Delea's drink stronger at the after-prom party, that Colton had bragged about getting something from his brother to slip in. The search of Colton's car turned up pills tucked under the driver's seat. 2 other girls came forward. The first had dated Colton 2 years earlier, the second just before Delea. Both described the same pattern: the grabbing, the pushing into walls, the gifts afterward to buy silence. Colton's parents had paid the first girl's family to keep it quiet. The protective order came through. Then the criminal charges. Then the trial. Delea wore the dress she was supposed to wear to prom when she took the witness stand. Her hands shook, but her voice didn't. She described every bruise, every incident, every time she'd been afraid to set him off. She said she'd been scared all the time and never knew what would make him hurt her. Then Micah walked up to the stand in his button-up shirt with the little dinosaurs on it, and the bailiff had to adjust the microphone all the way down. He raised his right hand and promised to tell the truth in that serious voice kids use when they know something is really important. The prosecutor pressed play on the recording. Colton's voice filled the courtroom, his laughter, his plans. The words about making sure she couldn't say no this time. One juror put her hand over her mouth. Another shook his head. Colton's lawyer jumped up arguing the recording was illegal. The judge shut him down. Micah had made it in his own home, where Colton had no expectation of privacy. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty. On all major charges. At sentencing, 2 years in juvenile detention, 3 years probation, mandatory counseling, and a permanent restraining order. In the parking lot afterward, Roland Vance cornered us and called it teenage relationship drama. My husband looked at him and said, in a voice so calm it scared even me, that his son was a predator who finally got caught. And that maybe if Roland had been a better father, none of it would have happened. Roland got in his car and drove away. That night, Delea crawled into Micah's bed the way he used to crawl into hers during thunderstorms. I stood in the doorway and watched my son wrap his arm around his big sister. She whispered something to him, and they both laughed. The first real laugh I'd heard from either of them in months. My 8-year-old had seen something the rest of us missed. He'd watched it build for months, felt helpless, and done the only thing his 8-year-old brain could calculate. If she can't leave the house, she can't be hurt tonight. He was wrong about the method. He was completely right about the danger. The therapist said it best. Micah had been carrying the weight of knowing about the abuse for months with nowhere to put it. No adult who believed him, no way to make it stop. He'd collected evidence the way he'd seen evidence work in stories. He'd waited for the moment it would matter most, and when it did, he pressed play. My son shaving his sister's head in her sleep the night before prom was the best thing he ever did. Not because it was the right thing, because it was the only thing he could think of to keep her safe. And it worked. And she's still here.